Because we finished reading The Casual Vacancy. At least one of us did. This is MuggleCast episode 259 for October 28, 2012. Welcome to MuggleCast episode 259. Eric, Selena, Micah, and I are all here this week. Hello, gentlemen and lady.
Hello.
Hello. Lady.
This is so odd seeing you, Andrew, in your Google headband and monocle.
Yeah, we're doing a Google Hangout chat to talk. It's fun.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's interesting. We're all dressed up for Halloween. I'm not, except for Selena. I'm not quite sure what she is.
I don't even see Selena.
Selena's a black hole.
Well, mine was just a green screen, so I turned it off because that was weird.
Oh.
Look, I'm just
Maybe
a
your camera's just broken.
Maybe. So I was like, whatever.
Eric, can you get closer to your mic? You're still low compared to everybody else.
Sorry, I have to.
That's much better.
I pretty much have to hold the mic like this.
Oh.
What do you have? You have a mechanical arm?
Yeah.
Standing that. Dude, I'm just gonna get one of those.
Yeah, you should. So we have some news to catch up on, and we also are going to talk about The Casual Vacancy. A couple people have finished it, not everybody, however.
Yeah.
And we have we have some emails. Wait, did you not finish it, Selena?
No.
Oh no!
Do you know what happens though?
You were the closest.
No.
Yeah, you were the closest. What happened?
So
I didn't read anything.
The ball has been dropped.
So it all comes down to Micah. The MuggleCast review of The Casual Vacancy is actually the Micah review of The Casual Vacancy.
Wow.
Yay.
all right.
So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, the news. Micah, what is happening in the world of Harry Potter this month?
Well, it's really the world of J.K. Rowling, not the world of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Because she's been out on her promotional tour for The Casual Vacancy, and she made a stop in New York City a couple weeks ago. And some of us were there.
Yeah, how was that?
It was good. You know, it's always good to kind of see everybody get together. Minus a few, obviously, Andrew and Selena. We didn't see you there, but it was kind of like a mini reunion.
Yeah.
Of sorts. It was kind of like Chicago all over again, but with a few less people, and it was fun. You know, not to be too critical of the person doing the interviewing, but I didn't find her that engaging, and I'm forgetting her name right now, but she really she seemed to be way more of a fan than a professional, and so. I mean, I can understand that being in the presence of J.K. Rowling and being responsible for interviewing her, but I really felt like it was more about her and less about J.K. Rowling, and she talked way too much, and J.K. Rowling didn't talk quite enough.
Well, authors tend to have a shorthand that they talk to each other in sometimes because this
like a
person.
pimp hand?
No, a shorthand. The pimp hand. No, it's a vernacular. It's vocab. So they talk to you. So. She was asking, I think her name was Anne, and she was an author, and she was asking Jo about her creative process and things like that. And so some of the questions she would ask, I found that I was very interested in, because I like to look into writing, and I found those questions interesting. But there was I was uncomfortable at certain times when she was just talking about her own writing and her own work, and here I am, wanting to learn more about J.K. Rowling. So if they had a time limit, and they did, I feel like it could have been better used, to ask even more questions of J.K. Rowling, because getting her book signed, that was not the time to ask Jo a question. If you wanted to have your question asked, it needed to be done, submitted in the weeks prior. And some of the questions that Jo was being asked during the event, were submitted. But on the whole, and they even joked about this, she had a stack of cards with everybody's questions on it, and really probably only got to about 5 of them that night out of, 15 or 20 it looked like.
I think it's important though to have somebody who's really excited about being in the presence of J.K. Rowling. Though
that's true.
You know?
That's true because she, in a way, then represented all of us who are just as excited.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I think the other part of it is though you have to remember that the people there paid to see J.K. Rowling. They didn't pay to see Anne Patchett. That was her name.
They only paid like $35 though.
I know, but how many opportunities do you get to see J.K. Rowling and to listen to her talk? And yeah, I thought overall it was great, though. She read from a passage in the Casual Vacancy, and really that part that Eric talked about, that Q&A, was very, very short from the fans themselves.
Yeah, that definitely was. And even the reading, like she did a reading, but I found the whole evening was kind of short. I mean, we ended up waiting quite a while afterwards to get our stuff signed, but
the hour deadline, or I say deadline, but that's kind of what it was like. They stuck to that hour time frame very, very strictly. It literally ended right at 9 o'clock, and they moved it over to the signing.
And that's obviously because J.K. Rowling had a lot of books to sign, I'm sure.
2,000, yes.
Few.
1,000 more than she was even going to, and I'm so glad that she still decided to do that for everybody. But
did she sign everybody's books?
Yeah, she signed
man.
and not only that, like everybody got a new copy of the book. Because there's no way to facilitate like bring your own Casual Vacancy, whatever. Like we all got a brand new book, and it was already the flap was already like in the page, so that you just open it up and it was right to the page that Joe would sign, which is like the 5th or 6th page.
So Eric,
wow.
What did you say to Joe?
So I'm laughing because I asked Micah this question afterwards. No. I asked Micah. I don't want to ruin this. I don't want to spoil this for Micah, but I asked him afterwards. I was like, "So, Micah, what did you say to Joe?" And he says, not nothing." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Oh, I may have said thank you afterwards."
I
Were
did
you
say
speechless, Micah?
No, it goes by very, very quickly, and what else are you going to say? I said, thank you, and she actually fumbled with the book when she was giving it back to me. So
she was nervous.
Whoa,
to meet
you have that effect on her.
Yeah.
But Eric, what did you say?
Yeah, I said I had a script. I had a thing that I played with while I was waiting in line. I knew that we'd only have like 3 to 5 seconds.
Right.
So I came up with this speech, and I didn't introduce myself. Like several other people, like from MuggleNet, were like, "Hey, I'm so and so from MuggleNet."
Yeah.
She was like, "I love MuggleNet stuff." I didn't waste that time. I basically said, what did I say? Thank you for continuing to put pen to paper.
Mm-hmm.
You have a wonderful voice, meaning writing voice, and I love your simile and metaphor. And she said thank
Aww.
you. That was it. That was what I did. And as she was signing the book, and then I got pushed, to leave. So that was it. But that was really like, that was what I was looking forward to the most out of this event. We can criticize the question and answer or whatever, but like actually just being able to thank her in person, there's the eye contact, that kind of thing. Like for everything that happened with Harry Potter, and it wasn't a Harry Potter event. People were not allowed to bring anything Harry Potter wise into the line, nothing at all. But still, like, I wanted to thank her in person for that impact. So this was a good opportunity for that, and I'd say it was well worth the trip.
I did watch the video, like the first 50 minutes of the event, so I got a good sense of that that interviewer and the atmosphere and the audience, and it seemed like everybody there was a huge Harry Potter fan. I don't think anybody there has like never read Harry Potter or they were hardcore J.K. Rowling fans. So well, it seems like everybody had a good time. I had a couple other friends who went, and they said it was a great time as well. I know.
Afterwards was even better. We went to this bar and did these Harry Potter shots. I think we're old enough to say that at this point on the podcast.
Did you just say that afterwards was better than the J.K. Rowling event?
Because alcohol was involved.
I'm pretty sure that's what you just said, Micah. We are adults.
I saw photos from that. The place that was doing the Harry Potter like fireball whiskey shots, or what was that? They were on fire. The shots were on fire.
They were on fire.
And the bartender had like a Harry Potter scarf and good stuff.
There were incantations. He gave us a scarf and a hat and a wand. And we were supposed to... What is this place called? Do you remember, Micah?
It's called the Barcelona Bar.
Barcelona Bar in New York City, and this you wouldn't be able. It's hard to find from the outside because there's currently like scaffolding on the building. But Micah's friend Nicole Not Danielle, right?
Not Danielle.
Not Danielle. Nicole.
Harry called her Danielle the whole time.
Knew about this. She didn't even say anything. Nice girl, right? Didn't even say that I had her name wrong the whole time. But no, so they have these specialty shots from all different, literature and movies and pop culture and stuff. And the Harry Potter shot involves them literally handing you these props, asking you to, cast a spell, and then he lights them on fire. The more the merrier is just, so we had 9. And he lights them on fire, and he's shouting some kind of, it was kind of adult what he was saying, weird rambling crap about Harry, and his trials at Hogwarts. But then the fire just keeps going and going and going and going, and eventually he blows it out, and you've got this very hot, cinnamony kind of apple, shot to drink.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff. I'm glad that all worked out. Did they have a but they knew ahead of time you were coming, right? The Harry Potter. What?
No, they just regularly offer, and I wonder if I took any pictures of Blackboard, but it's like a chalkboard, and they have all the list of all the different shots. Like there's an Indiana Jones shot.
Oh wow, this place sounds awesome.
Yeah, and they each do different things. Well, that's the thing is like the shots I feel really save this place. For like otherwise
it's a hole in the wall. That's what he's trying to say, and that's what their moneymaker is that they do themed shots.
Ah, okay, cool. So there's been lots of interviews about the casual vacancy, and of course most of them have involved Harry Potter. I got to say, a lot of these interviews were very repetitive. I've been getting very bored with each new one that comes out.
I feel bad for J.K. Rowling.
I know, and she has to answer every time like it's some like big revelation that she's saying. One of the questions was, though, what will be her next book, and she does say that it is likely to be a children's book. She hasn't committed to it yet, but she has 2 children's books and 1 other adult book I think she has like pretty much written at this point. And one of them for 6 to 7-year-olds is the one she believes is going to be her next book that's released.
I'm so relieved. I don't think I can handle all that grown up.
But
really?
Are we to be as adults now? Are we to be even excited about a book for 6 or 7-year-olds? It's just going to be some children's picture book, right?
There's no way that I'm going to get into this next book of hers. I can tell already that it's going to be a great book, I'm sure, but it's not for my age type. I can already see myself going, I'm not going to.
Yeah, but you'll collect it at the end of the day. You're going to go out and buy it, right?
I really don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if I'll buy it. I'll definitely go to the bookstore and read it, but
Selena's going to buy it.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it. No, I think that it's going to be really interesting because I think where Jo really went out of her way this time to show that this was not Harry Potter and she was writing for adults in this really real story. I feel like now she's going to be writing for children. She's proven herself, she's going to go write something, I don't know, fantastical in some way. At least that's my hope. And while it might be for like a lot smaller children, I think I'll still really enjoy it. Maybe that says more about me though.
No, I mean, yeah, it'll definitely be a fun book, I would think, and something whimsical. I would have no reason to buy it, really. I mean, we're entering this era now where it's like, do I buy every J.K. Rowling book no matter what? Or what do I do? I mean, like, do Stephen King fans buy every single Stephen King book?
I think they do, actually.
He's written like 50 of them.
But that's probably because they're all for adults.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of the thing is that did the casual vacancy prove to you that you are in fact a J.K. Rowling fan, or are you just going to accept that you're just a quote unquote just a Harry Potter fan? That's the difference.
Yeah. Anything else that she has said recently that's been of interest in interviews?
She had a few interesting things to say about the casual vacancy, like specifics about the casual vacancy during that interview, at the Koch Center. But otherwise in interviews, I think it's been kind of, like you said before, repetitive. Nothing terribly new and interesting about that.
Yeah, there was a one Potter comment about wishing that she could still speak with Dumbledore, but I feel like that's something that she said before in the past.
Mm-hmm. She has.
Mm-hmm.
So
and I'm like, if anybody can speak to Dumbledore still, it's J.K. Rowling. Like, you know, she could, I don't know why that's a complaint, because she could just write a paragraph where she talks to him, you know, or a page or two. But
now, we know that she hasn't ruled Potter out in the future if something does come up, but do you guys think we will see another Potter novel, whether it be 10 years from now, 15 years from now? I don't understand how she could have that much knowledge in her head and not want to go ahead and put it down on paper again if there is a good story that she can write.
I think what's in her head are, you know, the bits and pieces, the fragments and stuff, like stuff that never made it into the first book because it's not relevant. I think what she means when she said, like, she still walks in and out of the walls of Hogwarts, and if there were a good story that came upon her as being, you know, worth telling, she would tell it. I think what that means is she needs another central character, you know, because she's done with Harry. So where in the timeline and where in that world is there another kind of story that's equally interesting, or that's going to appeal to her in the same way that Harry's hero's journey over the course of 7 years at Hogwarts, you know, arrested her and got her to tell it. So I think that's what it is. What she's looking for is another character to follow, or another journey that might
Albus
strike
Severus.
her. Yeah, Albus Severus. It could be Harry's direct kid, or it could be somewhere else in the world, you know, at another school, or maybe at an orphanage, maybe at a Senate seat of a high council. Now that she's more political, you know, it could be a more political book. It could be a vastly different book than Harry Potter, but in his world is what you know.
I guess
so.
that's kind of true, and I never really thought about that, because I always assumed if she was going to go back to Potter, she would either write about Harry's children or Harry's parents or the founders of Hogwarts. Like, I never really assumed she would go anywhere else, but you're absolutely right. Like, she could write about Beauxbaton or something. We have no idea.
She has said that Harry's story is finished. So,
Right.
So
we'll never see more with Harry as the lead character. I do think if she does return to Harry Potter, it will be a while from now, because she has said in these interviews that she has multiple books prepared in the pipeline, and it seems like none of those are Harry Potter.
that's true, although there is Pottermore, and I did want to ask you guys if you've continued or finished Chamber of Secrets on Pottermore yet, because quite a bit of the book is available now, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I've been through it. We're going to get the final Chamber of Secrets chapters this upcoming week.
Okay, the reason I ask is because I wondered about the new content that she continues to release on there. I mean, at least for now, that seems to be the only place where we're going to get Harry Potter content from Jo, though.
Yeah.
You know, summarizing those interviews that she said.
It feels like an encyclopedia is very unlikely in the near future. I think Pottermore has to be completely finished before we can even start considering the idea of an encyclopedia happening.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you know, from what I remember going through, I know when the next set of chapters was released for Chamber of Secrets, I did start the process of going through and looking at the new information, but I don't think I made it all the way through, so I'm not up to this next set of chapters that are going to be released in the upcoming week. But and again, nothing kind of stood out to me, Andrew. I don't know if it did to you about those chapters. There's no really big information that I can remember.
No. Let me look through my notes. There was there was a new piece on King's Cross Station. There's a new piece on Purebloods, new piece on Peeves, new piece on Hogwarts Ghosts, and new piece on Draco Malfoy. So there was 5 new sections of writing from J.K. Rowling, which was cool. This next one is believed to have information on the Sword of Gryffindor, the Chamber of Secrets, and Ghosts. Just in time for Halloween, appropriately enough.
Well, I'd like to know more on the Chamber of Secrets, for sure.
Well,
We'll follow the spiders.
if you can't wait, lucky for you, there is this, I've learned in the past week, there is this Pottermore hacker. And he got into the new Pottermore stuff early, and this guy's legit because he's done it before, and the content that he unearthed before is real.
Wow.
His name is Snitch Spirit. He games the system to get all these extra points and stuff. It's crazy. So I have a link there in the show notes. and it goes to a Google Doc. We didn't publish it on Hyperwall because I didn't need Pottermore knocking and being like, take that down. That's illegal.
Yeah.
But it's still up on Google Docs, and we won't read it yet. We should get back to going through some of this new content.
Sure.
Because there's a boatload of stuff. I mean, the Chamber of Secrets and the Sword of Gryffindor entries are pretty long. I imagine the Ghosts entry is pretty long as well. And as you guys recall, in Halloween years past here on MuggleCast, we've done ghost themed episodes.
Yeah.
And actually, we're all dressed up for this Halloween episode. Just nobody can.
That's so cool.
Well,
I wish I could do it too.
We should take somebody can take another picture if you want with the big.
Selena, you should still add some effects. See if you can still add some like facial hair to your green screen.
I don't think it'll work though, because Micah's didn't turn on until his full face was in the camera.
When I tried doing it before, I just started a drum roll by accident. Which I'm sorry about.
Go to props. I think it just places a prop right in the middle no matter where you are.
Oh yeah,
like
I see it.
The birthday cake. Hey, click it. See does that work?
But and I don't like saying this, but as it relates to Pottermore, I've lost interest
in Pottermore.
Yeah, and I just don't find myself running to the computer maybe as I did at the beginning to see what new information she's going to put out there. It's just it's not that exciting.
Well, that's a personal choice, but it's your personal journey through Pottermore. I think what turned me off about the Chamber of Secrets was that they're only releasing 4 chapters at a time instead of doing a full book like they did with the first book.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's that. But I know for a fact that like one day when I'm feeling the Harry Potter vibe, I'm going to go in and read it all. Like, I will do it. I'm not going to say that somehow they're failing at interesting me. It's my own personal thing. I got plenty of things going on in my real life. Joined a gym, trying to finish Casual Vacancy, all this other stuff.
Tough job.
I'm not ready for Pottermore yet. I'm going to let it in, and I'm going to read it all, but probably only after all of its release. This 3 chapters at a time thing is killing me.
For me, I feel like it was so important, while the series was still going on, it was so important for me to learn every tiny little detail. But now, I'm kind of with Micah in that I'm not kind of so excited for every little piece of information, but I still really want to know about the characters. I still really want to know more about the backstories of all these people, like McGonagall and everything. But things like how ghosts work and stuff kind of feels irrelevant to me now because we don't need to use it for anything.
Yeah, because there's not going to be a new story necessarily where the ghosts, everything the ghosts were ever going to do in a Harry Potter book has already happened. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's what you mean.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think they have to release the chapters in these batches of 3 or 4 at a time because that's when their traffic spikes. And the Pottermore CEO said that. They're trying to combat that right now, figure out ways to get people coming back on a regular basis. Because they admitted that the traffic spikes when there are new chapters released, and rightfully so. Imagine how much longer we would... okay, let's say they release a whole book. You tear through it in, a half hour, 45 minutes, and then you're done for 6 months. See you later.
Right. Yeah. They have to stagger it. That's the whole point. I agree. Yeah. And, I like how they've taken a completely different approach. If you look at their marketing campaign is changed a little bit. Now they're trying to get people excited all over again with the whole follow the spiders.
Yeah, tell us about that. So, just in all seriousness, did Pottermore they reach out to MuggleNet and hey, put these ads on your site?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what they said. They said, we're kind of really trying to gear up and get people excited about the final chapters of Chamber of Secrets, and I think that they're going to probably look to do more of that even, moving forward because it gives something extra. It's something that people can kind of reflect on at the same time too, because maybe you remember it from the movies or you remember it from reading the books, and it's a cool concept. Follow the spiders, see what happens.
Definitely.
Why couldn't it be follow the butterflies?
Aww.
I knew he was going to do that. I was waiting for somebody. I figured Eric would do it.
That, but...
What else is in the news, Micah? We'll get back to Casual Vacancy in a bit.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit. Maybe it was the last episode that the Harry Potter the Exhibition is returning to New York City after spending much time abroad, or maybe not much time abroad, depending on how you look at it. And it's going to be here. When's November 3rd? This week. It returns this Saturday, I want to say.
Yeah.
To Discovery Times Square.
Just in time for Election Day.
Yes, I'm sure that's exactly what they were looking to line it up with.
Now, for the holidays, actually.
For the holidays. And they have mentioned that there will be props from both Deathly Hallows movies, which there may not have been the first time around, possibly from Part 1, but definitely there was nothing from Part 2. And they're also going to look to do a couple of holiday-themed areas in the exhibition. So should be fun.
So are you going to go again? You've been before. Are you going to go again?
Yeah, I think I'll go again just to kind of see the new props and the holiday stuff. Sounds cool.
I haven't been yet. Maybe I'll have to go with you. Can we go on a date?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Are you going to be back for the holiday season?
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah.
You going to visit the family?
Thanksgiving and Christmas. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Can your sister come?
Oh my God.
This is just getting wildly off topic.
No, but
the rest of your family, of course.
Right, of course. I haven't been to the exhibition yet, so I'm interested in going to it. I was just curious
I'm surprised you haven't been.
It's never been where I've been. You know what I mean? I mean, like it was probably in New York while I was there, but it was in New York while I was there, but I was just like, whatever. But this time I won't take it for granted. I was just curious, Mike, as someone who's been before, because I'm sure there are people listening who may ponder going again.
Yeah, I'm interested to know what the price tag on it is.
Yeah.
I haven't taken a look. I know tickets are on sale already, but if you remember the last time that this opened, there was a huge DVD release, and they kind of blew the whole thing out with the red carpet. And the DVD was for, was it Deathly Hallows Part 1 maybe at that time?
Mm-hmm.
And it just happened to coincide with the opening of the exhibition in New York, so it was a really big event with a lot of the actors and actresses from the series.
I'll do the last news story of the day because I wrote about it. It's tennis star Andy Murray. I just wanted to bring this up because this is too funny to me. He was asked recently about his reading habits, and he blamed his lack of reading on Harry Potter. He said, "I don't read books. I mean, I go on the internet a lot and I read stuff online, but I don't read books. I haven't read a book since I was about 14, 15. I got halfway through the third Harry Potter book. It was the first one that was really, really big. It was like 600 pages. I stopped around 200. I haven't read a book since then."
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
first of all, I think he was talking about Goblet of Fire, but nonetheless, I mean, how pathetic is this?
This is bad. This is like, that phrase, you can't turn everybody. Like, this is one of those things. Like, and he's blaming the length of a Harry Potter book.
I know.
For his not reading. I'm sorry. Like,
that's the best part.
The length.
So
I'm saying there are much longer books out there, like Song of Ice and Fire, for instance, that I think are far more capable of turning people off reading due to their length. But yeah, Harry Potter's not a difficult read, even if it's like the only one that I ever found hard to get through was the fifth one. And that's only just because there's so much. And I was rushing myself to do it in like a short amount of time. I don't know. This substance, I don't get him.
That's an interesting question. Has anybody, Eric, why was number 5 so hard to get through? Just the length? Like what? Just the
I love
material,
the fifth
were you
one.
saying?
There were, in terms of pacing, like 4, there's never a dull moment. I don't think so. In Goblet of Fire. In Order of the Phoenix, I think there are several moments, and as a reader, you disagree with Harry, so it's a lot slower to actually go through and enjoy and read. But I never would have stopped. I was still interested in the end, the whole time. And of course, it's like a middle book, so she had to, close old holes and open up new plots and stuff. So it was like technical. It was like this is the book where you kind of have to do everything to set it up for the future books. But so it was very boring to read as a result, as opposed to being, just the exciting pop, story that for the most of the book, Harry's really moody. Voldemort, we don't know, he's back. He's back, but we don't know what he's up to. So
there's too much. Once upon a time, I was going to call it. There's too much Order of the Phoenix hate. I love that book.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Mine too. Yay!
I like the movie. To be honest, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that.
I did too. I thought it was a good distillation.
I did not like the movie. Least favorite movie.
Oh.
I think it was a needed distillation.
Micah or Selena, did you have any trouble getting through a Harry Potter book ever?
No. I'm gonna say no. I wasn't trying to think of one, but I was like, no.
No.
It's hard for me to remember.
Here's the thing, though. Having seen the movies first, well, I was going to say having seen the movies first, sometimes you try and rush through a book and want to just get it over with because you technically already know what happens. But I think they're in parts, they're so different that you did learn more information. In a way, I'm kind of comparing it. Better. Yeah, I'm kind of comparing it to like the first book of A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones. Like I was rushing to get through that book. I couldn't wait for it to end.
The same.
Because it's exactly the same, exactly. So, but with Potter, no, I liked reading it, and I read. I think it was the first 5 books, in one summer before the next year Half-Blood Prince came out. So, nah. My answer is no.
Yeah. The only one that I did find, like, I struggled to get through was the final one, but that was mainly because I didn't want it to end, Right. That's really why. And people kept dying, and I was like, I don't want to read anymore. People are going to die.
Yeah. Harry Potter fan problems. Don't want it to end. Yeah, I know what you mean. I've suffered that. I think probably with Deathly Hallows, I guess, yeah. But yeah, I can't think of any book that's particularly been difficult in terms of Harry Potter for me to get through. Okay,
nothing
so I think
nothing like the wall I hit when I started read Casual Vacancy.
So I think that's it for Harry Potter news, unless there's anything else anybody wanted to bring up.
No, let's talk about the Casual Vacancy.
Let's talk about Casual Vacancy. I'll start the conversation by explaining why I haven't finished Casual Vacancy. I decided I'm not going to finish the book.
Dun, dun, dun.
Ever?
It's on my bookshelf. I like having it there. It looks good. But I don't understand why. I realized a week or two ago that I shouldn't be forcing myself to read a book I'm just not interested in. Like, why should I sit here and force myself to read this when I want to read other books? I'm reading Divergent by Veronica Roth right now, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Plug.
But I just don't understand why I would want to continue reading this. I'm not going to force myself to read a book just because it's J.K. Rowling. I'm not going to convince myself I like it when I really don't. And this is just my opinion. People enjoyed the book, so and I'm glad they did. This is just my view of it.
I agree. You shouldn't force yourself. Did you have the crickets pewed?
Good use of sound effects.
Crickets pewed. Oh God.
What'd you say, Eric?
Sorry.
Yeah, I agree that you shouldn't force yourself to finish a book you don't want to finish. And
Uh-oh.
Did he drop?
Yeah.
He dropped.
He froze.
Well, that's fun with video.
So, Selena, why haven't you finished the book?
No, oh God, I feel that kind of the same way as you, even though I am gonna finish it, but after our discussion last week, I actually left it feeling a lot more positive about the book. You know what I mean? Like, we were discussing all of the things that I initially thought, oh, this is, well, that's not me this time, that I originally thought were a problem actually wasn't a problem. It's just a different book than Harry Potter, and a different book than I was expecting. I was expecting a thriller, and it wasn't a thriller, but then I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to finish it. And then I just didn't. And then it became a thing where every time I sat down to finish it, the idea of it just made me so depressed because it made me depressed reading it the first time around. But it's so stupid because I've got like 60 pages left. I am going to finish it. It just became a thing where it felt really negative, and I didn't want to go into it feeling down. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But you do plan on finishing it.
I do.
Okay. Eric, what was the second half of what you said? You froze up.
Oh, I plan on finishing it as well, even though I haven't. I feel like I need to validate the time I already spent on the book.
Right.
Not that it's, that terrible either. I know it is. I know by now. It's a completely different book than what I was expecting, and it's not the type of book I would normally read. It's going to be depressing. It's going to upset me reading it, and hearing about nothing positive happening to the characters. Look, I like happy endings. That's the bottom line. I know this book is not going to have one, but I feel like, again, doing this show, I feel like I need to, because I read all the Harry Potter books. Mm-hmm. I do feel like I need to read her next book. I feel compelled to understand her. I feel like it'll help me understand her better as an author and all sorts of other stuff, where I just feel like I should and I have to finish it. But also I want to. So there's that.
Yeah.
I'm saying
that's
good
fair.
for you. Good for you for saying I'm not going to force myself to finish it. Like, don't. That's fine.
No, but you bring up a good point too. I did read a couple major spoilers about the Casual Vacancy, so I do know how it ends. Now, Micah, what did you think of the book as the brave soul who conquered it?
Yeah, I mean, it was easy for me because I spent a lot of time going back and forth from the city, so I do have the ability to kind of read it on the train casually, no pun intended. And I did feel it pick up as the book went along, and that was kind of one of the criticisms I feel like we got from people who had finished the book in a short period of time and were listening to our show, and they said, well, you guys have only read about 100 pages. Is it really fair to do a review? Is it really fair to criticize the book overall? And, I actually liked it at the end of the day. It's very dark. There's a lot of depressing things that happen along the way. There are some funny moments too, but I don't know what else to say other than I thought it was a really well-written book. I won't call it a good book. It's not, it's certainly something that you shouldn't walk away feeling good about. I know J.K. Rowling said, she'd be shocked if people didn't cry at the end. I didn't cry, right. But
she would be shocked.
Yeah, I could certainly see why people would.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very sad ending to the book.
Yeah, I think Joe was expecting you to get really connected to her characters. That's why you would cry, I think. So
sorry, just to interrupt you. I was just gonna say I think that is the thing that I've seen people have issue with this book. It's not that it's not well written or that it's not an engaging story. It's that, like, I've had people respond to me on Twitter saying basically it feels like they're reading about a bunch of Dursleys. You know what I mean? Like that's what, and I totally see that. Once they said it, I was like, yes, that's what it is. Most of these characters feel like Dursleys, and maybe it is because it's J.K. Rowling and we have been sort of taught that we're not supposed to care about Dursleys. I don't know what it is, but I found it really difficult to care about most of these characters.
There's no hero among them, or the
right.
heroes among the hero. There's no flawless hero. The hero among them is flawed, and it's all this very big gray area. It's not good versus evil. It's evil versus slightly less evil, or a different kind of badness.
And there is Crystal, and she's great, and I care about Crystal, but and I care about some of the others as well. But it's just, I don't know. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I think the main hero, if you could even call him that, is not even in the story for the most part, and that's Barry. He dies right at the start, and not to say that he was flawless, but he's probably the closest to anything resembling a hero in the story, though I think Crystal is brought up. J.K. Rowling mentioned her as she did mention Sukhvinder, if I'm saying
Sukhvinder, yeah.
the right way, because of how she acts at the end of the story without giving anything away. But we lose that heroic type figure within the first several pages of the book, and we learn later on that really he was flawed because he neglected his family to really get behind this whole campaign as it related to, what's the area called again?
The Fields. But
the Fields, yeah.
But he was a champion for good, and in general, he saw the best in these students, no matter what their class was, and things like that. Like, he was a good guy, and he seems to be one of the only good guys that there were in that town, which is a shame for that town. But ultimately, if I'm, asking myself, well, what kind of book do I want to read today? It's not going to be the about these kinds of characters. I think that J.K. Rowling's book is more realistic than I would prefer, even. Although it does take some skill, considerable skill, to take what is in the world, the difficult subjects to talk about, and to actually make a book about them. But I realized when reading this that I very clearly prefer more fun, poppy, less serious work. I really do. I need to be entertained. I can't be gripped in this way by this type of medium. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very dark, and it's a different kind of dark, I think, than Harry Potter at certain points. And that's not to say that there aren't some kind of crossovers between the two books, but I really just feel like this is definitely an adult novel in every sense of the word, and if you go into it thinking that you're going to get anything resembling Hogwarts or Harry, Ron, and Hermione, that's just not going to be the case, and it shouldn't be. That shouldn't be the anticipation going in, because this is a completely different book and a completely different set of circumstances and different characters, and
right.
There's no magic at all.
It was a character study, a really long, drawn-out character study about how Barry and his death affected the lives of normal people who were living normal lives, tragic lives. And that is great, but some people, especially people who are fans of stuff like Harry Potter, might not want to read something like that, and I think that's fair enough.
Well, one of the reasons I said to J.K. Rowling, I said, I love your simile and metaphor, is because, honestly, the metaphors in this book, or actually more particularly the similes, are what gets me through it. She talks about Samantha, sliding into, a landslide of pleasant drunkenness and stuff. And while I was reading that, I was laughing, because I'm like, oh, that's a funny way of saying that. That's what was getting me through the book at certain points, was these words that JKR was using to describe what was actually happening. And so that, for me, was the uplifting, was the only humor in the book, really, is in the narration and the kinds of ways that the narrator views these characters as being contradictory or whatever.
So, Micah, if somebody comes up to you and you talk about J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter and whatnot, do you recommend The Casual Vacancy to somebody? Would you recommend it to anybody? And if so, who? What type of person?
They read Potter? I mean,
yeah,
are you saying a Potter fan comes up?
Let's say they've read Harry Potter. Maybe they're not a huge Harry Potter fan. They're like a casual. They've read the books. I mean, who would you recommend this book to? That's the question I'm asking.
That's a tough question, because I don't know necessarily who this type of writing appeals to, and who these themes kind of appeal to on a larger sense. Because I don't think it's a book, and I said it on the last show, and I still believe it having finished it, it's not a book that I would have picked up just off the shelf. And so that's what makes it hard for me to recommend it to any one person who likes a certain type of literature. This is kind of very real. You get a real sense of these characters and who they are, because you see them behind closed doors. And you see inside their minds on a regular basis, and who they are, the raw individual of who they are and how they operate. And I think it's just a larger depiction of society as a whole, and how everybody has issues that they deal with. And, these are just very real descriptions of people, and that's not always that fun to read, in my opinion.
Yeah. This is actually the type of story that I could see going on a curriculum of some sort. You know what I mean? It reminds me a lot of, in Danish schools, we read a lot of social commentary, kitchen sink stuff, I don't know, The Bell Jar, or, some book about a boy who lived in the 50s and had a fish, and then you read all about this fish, and then the fish dies, and then the book ends, and you're like, okay, what did I just read? That's the type of story that it is, which is just teaching you about regular life, regular people going through it's kind of like teaching you about human emotion.
Yeah. And whether you're talking about Andrew's father, not not your dad, Andrew.
Oh.
But who's just a complete and utter brutalizer. I mean, he beats his children, he beats his wife, and then you switch over to, is it the Mollisons who, he has this really, is it the Mollisons and this is part of the problem too, I think, is I can never get all the characters lined up in a row with the exception of a few. The one who goes through these really, it's Fats's father, or
that's Cubby Wall.
Cubby. Yeah, who goes through these moments of pure anxiety. And, these are real things that people deal with, whether you're talking about domestic violence or you're talking about, anxiety and fears and things like that. You kind of strip everything away from these characters with the exception of when you see them out in, the delicatessen, or you see them out at, some sort of event that's taking place throughout the little town that we're in.
Well, interestingly, if this book were to be assigned reading, like in a curriculum, like Selena said, the topic was touched on at, in New York at the Koch Center, when J.K. Rowling was asked to really prescribe an age limit to her book about what age she feels Casual Vacancy is appropriate for. And the result was, and Joe's the last person to say, you need to be this age to read this book. But she feels that it's right around the correct age of maturity to deal with the older and admittedly adult issues of this book was about 15 or 16, she said. A 15 or 16-year-old girl could possibly be able to handle this book. So we're looking at, if it's in the U.S. schools, junior, senior year of high school, this would be a book that Joe feels would be, would be the right age to have that book be read. And we got an email about that, actually, about, a listener who we'll read in just a couple of minutes, but she's a little younger, and I know that Keith Hawk, for instance, from MuggleNet, his daughter went to the J.K. Rowling event, for Casual Vacancy. She has a signed copy of it, but he is not allowing her to read it for several years as a parenting issue, and I completely actually support that. She understands that too, that it's a little adult for her at this point. So I find that interesting that there were people in attendance that were too young for it, that their parents were, are still not going to let them read it. And JKR herself recommends an older age group for this book.
Right. Well, I agree with that. And I think when you look at the themes, that's a reason why. And it's not to say that they won't understand them necessarily, but I think to be exposed to them at that age is certainly questionable. So, there's a lot of dark stuff that happens in this book.
Well, let's get to the emails now. This is from Rebecca, 32 of Missouri. She writes, I think it's wrong to assume that most of the readers of Harry Potter would not be interested in this new novel. I've always been a big reader and was 19 or 20 before I read the first Harry Potter book. Until then, was never a fan of anything fantasy. In fact, I first discounted it because it was fantasy. I think people need to give the new book a chance. I feel like the book was clearly not going to be anything like Harry Potter, and to expect such was wrong on the part of the readers. It can't be compared to HP on any level. The only similarity is the author. Did anybody say it was going to be like? I don't know if anybody was like, "Oh, it's going to be similar to Harry Potter."
No, I don't think. The only thing I made an assumption about this book. I thought it was going to be like a mystery novel.
Mm-hmm.
And of course maybe I shouldn't have done that, but it was hard not to when there was no information released about the book at all before it was released.
Yeah.
I think we could guess that it wasn't going to be anything like Harry Potter, but I at least thought it would be uplifting, and it wasn't.
Right.
So there's that, and that is my response to this email. Is
that's fair.
Look, whoever's the reader. The writer of this email, said she's always been a big reader. That's great. I haven't been. HP was the reason I started reading and was the reason I actually appreciate any book. It ties back to Harry Potter. One of those reasons is that Harry Potter is very uplifting. This book, I see it as a crafty, depiction of real world reality and real villains and the variety of bad people in the world. But it's not for a minute something that I think that I would prescribe to another Harry Potter fan simply because the Harry Potter books are so uplifting and rewarding and this book is not. So that's why I wouldn't recommend it to a Harry Potter fan, because it doesn't give me the same warm feeling that those books do. And that has nothing to do with fantasy. And it has everything to do with the type of characters.
Yeah. And I think the inclination, though, coming in is to compare Potter to it, whether it's fair or not. And that's just the way that things were going to go, primarily, I think, with the media, because they love to do that kind of thing. And when you create what can arguably be called the most successful book series of all time, at least of this generation, there's nothing else close, and then you write another book, it's going to be compared, and that's the way that it goes.
Next email is from Ali K, 31 of South Australia. I had not read much of The Casual Vacancy when I listened to Podcast 258 because I also had been finding it difficult to get into, and following all the characters was confusing. I started to feel that perhaps I would actually not enjoy this book at all. How wrong I was! I have now just finished and I need to talk about it so badly. Oh my god, what a story. Very grim, very raw, but unfortunately, very real. I have been utterly touched by the lives of yet another set of Rowling's characters. If you have not finished it yet, I urge you to keep on. It gets better as you continue along. Having said that, the story is so very depressing that I do not feel any need whatsoever for a sequel story. As a little side note, I kept thinking of Frank McCourt's Angela's Ashes as I was reading it and felt it had a similar tone and similar issues. Love the podcast. Keep up the good work. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the best part about this book is that it is real, and that's why it is such a great story. I mean, because real stories don't always end in happiness, like Harry Potter did, to some extent.
Right.
So, could you argue in that case that the book is good in that it is real? Joe doesn't cut edges to cut corners to make a happy ending. You know what I mean?
I think it definitely, that makes it a really unique, raw piece of social commentary, but there's a difference between a book being good and someone enjoying it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Next email is from Katrina, 23 of Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Hey, MuggleCasters, it was great hearing about The Casual Vacancy this episode. Just curious what your thoughts are if JKR had written and released Casual Vacancy before the Harry Potter series. Would our image of her be different?
Yes.
Probably.
First of all, we wouldn't know. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Because The Casual Vacancy... I guess we would all have tried to read The Casual Vacancy after reading Harry Potter. Right?
We would probably have assumed that in Harry Potter it was going to get a lot more realistic. Like, there were going to be a lot more, like Harry and the Dursleys, there were going to be a lot more hard-cutting truths about what actually went on there. The kind of abuse that some people are assuming that he went through, and that I think Joe has even said that he went through. And I think as the characters grew older, we probably would have expected to see more, not rated stuff, that's not the right way of putting it. You know what I mean, though, just a bit less for children.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think The Casual Vacancy gets written without Harry Potter, meaning that I don't think this book ever would have been written by itself by J.K. Rowling, because I never... it would be very hard for it to gain traction, and I think
that's a good point.
She wasn't looking for traction when she wrote Harry Potter, though, either.
Yeah, but this doesn't have mass appeal, in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
Whereas Harry Potter does and did. She talked a little bit about this during the event at Lincoln Center, and talked about how she has continued to use publishers as opposed to just self-publishing, because she could have really self-published this book if she chose to. She wouldn't have had that luxury if this was her first novel, and I just can't see this, having the same level of success and allowing the door to open for Harry Potter. I think Harry Potter opened the door for this book to be made.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine how this book would have sold if it didn't have J.K. Rowling's name on it. It's an interesting question. It's something that I would definitely want to know the answer to, but we will never know. Next email's from Jacqueline, 19 in New Hampshire. Hi, I'm a longtime listener, so first, thank you for all your hard work you put into the podcast. I'm one of those people who would probably have picked up the casual vacancy without J.K. Rowling's name, speaking of the subject, without J.K. Rowling's name attached. I like the subject of class warfare, I'm interested in politics, and I love character-driven stories. I was a bit disappointed you didn't feel the same. That's not why I'm writing, though. You spoke on the subject of how centric the novel was to areas in Britain and how Americans would gain more insight from it than Europeans. I have to disagree. I live in, statistically, one of the richest states. However, I probably live in one of the smallest, most poverty-stricken towns within that state, though seemingly picturesque. Pagford and the Fields constantly reminded me of my town, with the neighboring more affluent towns being Yarville. Perhaps this is why I found the book so relatable. I went to school with Crystal Whedons, and my best friend's dad is Simon Price. One of the casual vacancy's greatest strengths, in my opinion, is its complete honesty and portrayal of reality. This reality of poverty and drug abuse and absent parenting, etc., isn't confined to any region, county, or place.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
So Jacqueline is then the perfect example of the person you would recommend this book to,
Yeah.
Based on the fact that she says she likes these types of
Class
novels.
warfare. Yeah.
Right. And, yeah, I mean, I agree with her. I think that one of the things that stands out for this particular book is its portrayal of reality and how honest it really is. It really strips people down and shows who they are at their very core.
I can see that if you knew somebody or lived in a town that was like Pagford and you knew people like this, and I'm sure we all actually know somebody like at least one of these characters, to be honest, but I can see how that would help you, to either get through the issue or to not feel so alone that somebody else gets it, because there are quite a lot of unsavory people in this book, and knowing that somebody can lay them bare and strip their secrets out for other people to read about, is actually quite comforting.
Right.
That we're all human in our own very, very deeply flawed way. So there's that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'll take the next email from Lily. This is the girl who wrote in about her age. She's 12 from Australia. She says, Dear MuggleCast, I am a new Harry Potter fan, as I am only 12. Now that J.K. Rowling has released The Casual Vacancy, I cannot read it because my parents said I was too young. She, meaning J.K. Rowling, always said she wanted to get children reading, so why do you think that she wrote a book for adults? Thank you, love the show, Lily. So I think there's a very quick misunderstanding here where I think she already did get children reading with the Harry Potter books. And I don't think that her only goal ever being an author was to just get children reading. That was a very fortunate side effect for her previous work, but I think ultimately J.K. Rowling's goal as an author is the same as any author, which is to write and anything and, really exercise and say things that are important and whatever message happens to strike you at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also I think J.K. Rowling cannot write for children forever. She has the freedom now to write for whoever she wants. So that's the simple answer, Lily. I'm sure in time you may understand it a little bit more, but don't worry, it's not because she doesn't hate you or she's changed her mind or anything. She just wants to write a novel for adults, just like we now do podcasts for different audiences,
And I think there's another case is that, Lily, you're 12 now. When we started reading Harry Potter, we were 12. You know what I mean? J.K. Rowling probably wants to write for an audience that has grown, that were Harry Potter fans when they were young adults and now are adults.
I started reading Harry Potter last year.
Right. Well, you're doing a good job of hiding.
You faked it pretty well for 6 years there.
I believed it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. And the last email from Francesca, who is, quote, your mom's age. And she's from Italy, and she says, Hi, guys. I had the luck to get tickets to see JKR's first presentation of her new book at the Queen's Hall in the UK on September the 27th. As usual, wherever she is, the place was just overflowing with her fans. JKR was great to see in person, and what a great person she is. She presented her book and explained why she decided to complete this different type of storytelling. I got the impression that she is still dealing with the death of her mom and issues of her own childhood. The book needs to be read as it is without thinking. Oh, sorry. The book needs to be read as it is without thinking of the Harry Potter world. I'm enjoying it. We will probably never again get anything similar to HP from her. Leaky was there and was so hoping to have seen you guys from MuggleNet. It would have made the entire evening complete. Thanks again for the podcast. I've been following you guys from day one and travel with your podcast whenever on the road. Thanks for the hours of listening pleasure, Francesca.
Cool. Well, I'm glad to hear it was a good time over there in London. J.K. Rowling did a Harry Potter event at Queen Elizabeth Hall years ago. So, kind of cool that she got to go there again for a different book.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get through these tweets real quick. More questions about the casual vacancy. This is from Energizer. If Joe wrote a sequel to Casual Vacancy, I know there won't be, but would you read it? My answer is no.
Wow.
Well, I haven't read the first one, so of course I'm not going to read the sequel.
Yeah.
Michael, would you read a Casual Vacancy sequel as the person who finished it?
What would that even be called? The Casual Occupancy?
Ooh.
There you go. Write your
There
own,
you go.
Selena.
I'll write it. Fan fiction.
What if Barry comes back from the dead?
See, that I would read.
Well, if you read the book, actually, he kind of does.
No, shut up.
Whoa. The ones
Spoilers?
Right,
Andrew.
Selena?
Andrew,
Yes.
Not spoiling it.
Andrew, the ones we love never truly leave us.
Oh, what is this?
Would I read the
Involved
sequel?
or something?
Would I read the sequel? Yeah, I probably would.
Really?
Yeah.
Pottermore News 7, a good source for Pottermore News, by the way. Not related to Casual Vacancy, but when do you think J.K. Rowling will publish her next novel? My guess is sometime next year, late next year.
I'm going to say 2014.
Ooh. Yeah, but think about it. The children's book, it'll be shorter, so it won't be too much harder to get edited and whatnot.
That's true, but I mean, and you might be right. I mean, she might do it, especially if it's a children's book. She might want it out in time for
Like Christmas,
the holidays next
yeah.
year. Like, yeah. But in some ways, after the Casual Vacancy, if she has publicists, if I was a publicist, I might tell her to hold off a bit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going to be so different from that. But yeah, I could see it. I can see what you mean. It might come out next year.
Any other guesses?
No, I mean, I agree, Andrew. Probably sometime next year. If she's already got it done, but probably not till later on in the year.
Mm.
Next is from Mr. Lucene. J.K. Rowling managed to transfer my sympathies from the Molsons to the Whedons within 100 pages. This novel is incredible.
Yeah, there are certainly strong forces at play in the book that stir emotion within the reader, and I think at that it is very strong. So there is that, and I've had those moments too, where I think that things that happen in the book are, on the whole, pretty cool. But it doesn't change how I overall feel about the book.
Sean Amaniali says, words cannot even begin to express how much I hated Casual Vacancy. Harry Potter fans, be honest with yourself, this book was rubbish. See,
I don't think it's fair to call that rubbish.
well, I don't think it's fair to call it rubbish for everybody. Like, you can't make a blanket statement saying, oh, this book, I don't like this book, so everybody else won't like it either.
No.
No, I agree.
Sage McKay says, what are your favorite storylines? Mine are the ones involving the teens. When I was reading it, I didn't enjoy the teens. How about you guys?
You said
Really?
You
Did enjoy the teens.
Oh, did. Okay.
All right. I enjoyed Crystal's story, obviously, and Sukhvinder's. I guess enjoyed. It was a strange way to put it, but I preferred reading Sukhvinder and Crystal, and also what is Sukhvinder's mother's name? Parminder. Parminder. I enjoyed reading about her as well.
I liked Parminder, who's closest to Barry, obviously, and
Right.
and Samantha. I really enjoy.
Really?
Flaws and all.
Well, she was great. I guess she was really well written, but oof.
She was so she was sardonic. It was
Right.
pretty enjoyable for me to read.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I mean, I like the teen storylines. Poor Andrew trying to get with is it Gaia the whole
Gaia.
time, and his pursuit there. Fats was an interesting character too. He was kind of the comic relief throughout most of the story, but I found the adults, they were just too boring at points.
Yeah, I guess you're right, because they are mostly, I guess the real interesting, is that too spoilers to say? Cut it out if it is, but the real interesting thing about The Casual Vacancy is how, even though it's a book for adults, it's ultimately the children who drive the story forward.
That's exactly
you know what I mean? So,
It's true. Yeah, you're right.
Right, but it's true. So
Yes.
I feel like that's probably why the adults, they only really react to what the children are doing, which is probably why the children or the teenagers are more interesting to read about.
Jeffrey Houghton says, do you guys think JK could have made Casual Vacancy better by toning down the language sex a little? No.
I don't think that it's really relevant in the larger picture. It's there because it's part of life, and what did she say at the event at Lincoln Center, that the difference between the sex in this book and 50 Shades of Grey is
porn.
that
nobody here enjoys it.
Nobody in this book enjoys it. Yeah. So it's just the language. I mean,
it is what
but
it is.
You know what? That's how people talk. I mean, go out and listen to any conversation on the street or in a restaurant, or even when you're at home or you're out with your friends. I mean, that's the way people talk.
Yeah, you can never make a book better by neutering the characters.
Or can you?
Or can you?
Lynn writes, were you guys at all surprised Sudavender ended up being one of the heroes of the story? Don't spoil it too much, but
if that happens,
well, you're not going to read it, Andrew.
No, I'm saying for the listeners.
Oh, okay.
Well, don't spoil it for me either. If that does happen, I'm very pleased, and that might be the closest thing to an uplifting story in the book, I'm guessing, because she is in a very, very bad situation where I am in the book.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised necessarily. I just thought it was really well written, that part.
And Yuval writes, do you agree that even though the book was hard to get into in the first 200 pages, the next 300 were absolutely fantastic?
I'll get back to you, Yuval.
I don't know if fantastic is the word I would use.
Did it pick up? Did it get better?
No, like I said earlier, it definitely picks up, and it moved, to me anyway, it moved a little bit faster than the character introduction at the beginning. It is like it's very well written, but it's very, very dark. So I don't know if fantastic is the word I would use to describe the last 300 pages.
No, I agree with you. I don't think, like, people kept saying it was getting better, and maybe I was just reading it with the thought of, surely it gets better soon. I think, as Mike has said, I can only say the same thing. This is a very well written book. This is a very carefully, geniusly constructed piece of literature, but I would not use the word fantastic to describe it.
Well, I think that wraps up MuggleCast episode 259. We have a quick plug here. Somebody, tell us about this plug. What is this plug?
Well, there's this fan group up at York University, which I believe is in Canada, and they had written into us. They have a group there called the Ministry of Magic, and they just wanted to let other Potter fans in the area know that they do have this group, and that they have 4 main sections: a general Harry Potter fan group, a Nerd Fighter section, an actual Quidditch team, and an official HPA chapter, a Harry Potter Alliance chapter. So if you're in that area, just check it out. I mean, I think there's a lot of these throughout the country, throughout the world.
Yeah.
That develop at colleges, universities, even high schools. So be sure to take a look in your area and see if there are these types of groups for you to take advantage of.
Speaking of that, actually, there's going to be a fun event happening in SoCal this upcoming weekend. Harry Potter bowling night.
Are you going?
I'm going, of course.
You gotta go.
In Torrance, California. Wow, complete with cool sound effects. Let me bring up the little event here. November 3rd, 8 p.m., the Los Angeles Dumbledore's Army, who brought you Harry Potter Skate Night, are putting on the first ever Harry Potter bowling night.
That's so cute.
at PV Bowl in Torrance, California. Enjoy a night of well-mannered, family-friendly bowling frivolity with Harry Potter music, costume contest, and get this, the best part, this is the reason I'm going, butterbeer, and for wizards 21 years and older, Harry Potter-themed cocktails. Sold!
Wow.
I am sold. Harry Potter drinks, get at me. So,
bowling and cocktails.
yeah.
Just don't forget to kill the spare.
Oh, nice. That was good.
So it's $11. It includes shoes and one game of bowling. Obviously, the drinks and the other stuff may be extra. One game of bowling, that's like nothing. So
Yeah,
they should give you more games. But anyway, be there or be a Muggle. If you're on Facebook, you can search Harry Potter Bowling Night. 129 people RSVP'd. So that means like half will go. So about 70. So it'll probably be pretty big. I mean, they're renting out the whole bowling alley, so should be fun.
Cool.
And, of course, the MuggleCast website, MuggleCast.com. From there, you can follow us on Twitter, Twitter.com/MuggleCast. Like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/MuggleCast. The fan Tumblr, MuggleCast.tumblr.com. And, of course, you can use the MuggleCast website to contact us via email. Of course, we take your tweets. All these things. Should we plug another podcast? Of course, we have Game of Thrones, the Game of Thrones podcast.
Yay!
Now 3 times a week. Woo!
Woo!
Look out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can get more of that.
And we have a very special week coming up soon that we'll be promoting a little bit more on our Game of Thrones assets, but we're officially coining it, isn't it? Hodor Week.
Hodor Week.
Hodor Week.
Hodor.
We're going to be joined by Christian Narn, I think is that the right way to pronounce his name. Nairn.
He'll tell us.
He'll tell us. And, we have trouble pronouncing things on that show anyway, so we just add it to the list.
Glad I'm not alone.
But he'll be joining us for our 3 weekly episodes, and we look forward to that. We hope our listeners do as well.
If you're a fan of fantasy, which I imagine you are, maybe you like Once Upon a Time, the show on ABC. Selena does a show, Onceable, on Hypeable. Onceable?
Yeah.
Hypeable.
Yeah, see what we did there?
Yeah, and you release a new episode after every new episode of Once Upon a Time to discuss it. Good stuff.
Is it true that they have Captain Hook on that show now?
It is true.
Oh.
Speaking of Captain Hook, Eric, are you wearing eyeliner?
Yes, because I was the Joker last night, and that required a little bit of eyeliner, and I still haven't figured out quite to get it off.
We'll have to do, next time we have a reason to do a live MuggleCast, we'll have to use Google Hangout and record it, because you can record the video.
This is quite fun, actually.
It is fun.
I've enjoyed seeing Micah in his scuba gear and devil horns, and you in your crown and curly Q mustache, and Selena's
birthday cake.
Selena's one candle cake.
I know. I'm gonna have to find a computer that works.
It is cool because normally we never see each other when we record unless it's a live show.
I do prefer it that way, but just wanted to try this. We'll never do this again. No, I'm kidding. This is actually a great way to do it.
It is.
So thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time for the big 260. Goodbye.
260. Bye.
Bye.